So as usual, Michael's words has inspired us to begin on a certain notion of understanding the power of our decisions. And that's kind of what I want to focus on
Do
at the
that.
beginning of this morning.
Let's do that.
And the power of our decisions are such that they can free us immediately from any suffering
Yeah.
experienced in ourselves or in our relationships. And here's the deal. He's been saying, rather than having resentment and upsets, if you hone an attitude of gratitude, understanding that God has given you everything, then you don't need to compare yourself to others or compare yourself to the past or the future. You can just be in the present moment of
Thank
the truth
God.
of who you are and understand that the Holy Spirit will give you whatever you need in terms of what to do, what to say,
Yeah.
and what to think. And
All the guidance.
that was the one of the main goals of this review, is to understand Jesus is putting us in the Holy Spirit's hands now, so that the Holy Spirit, that wisdom, is always operating. So here's one of the strategies of learning in the course that's really important here. As long as our decisions are multifarious, like, how am I going to manage the house? How am I going to manage there's a lot of decisions to make in that. And we need to make those. But what we need to understand is that our separation from love was a decision.
And that's like before we're even aware.
Before
Probably
anything.
before we came into this birth, and probably before we came into the, at the Big Bang.
Right. And so whatever the analysis of that is, the understanding is that you need to see the power of your decisions. You need to see how powerful that is. But as long as our decisions are about illusionary things, about things that are happening here, you won't see the power of your decisions. But when you break it down, like in this lesson, only my condemnation injures me, only my own forgiveness sets me free. When you break down your decisions to simple choices, like either it's condemnation or it's forgiveness, then you can see the power of your decisions, because at that moment, you recognize, I must be doing this to myself. I'm responsible for what happens to me.
Yeah, thank God.
I'm free.
Nobody's doing it to me.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I can free myself. So that's how we understand the power of our decisions. Love or fear, innocence or guilt.
Going to God or going away from God.
It's what it's called in technical terms, if I might be technical, is the argument of the course is the exclusive sense of a disjunctive premise. What does that mean? That means the ego is always going, it's either you or me, but not both of us. That's where the ego's plan is, to try and get innocence through the guilt of another.
Okay.
Right? Well, you can't put those two things together. You can't put innocence and guilt together. And when you recognize that and decide just for the innocence,
right,
then you'll see the power of your decisions.
Yeah, okay.
To free yourself in that moment. That's
right.
what excited me about this lesson here.
Okay,
And
great.
I shared that with you. Now, you had some process.
Well, today I had a lot of condemnation that was injuring me. So I thought I would share that with you. Something happened this morning, even before I rolled out of bed, that was like, oh no, you're kidding. And I had all kinds of reasons why this thing should not be happening.
Would you say it was a violation of?
Of course, that's what it would look like, right?
Yep.
And there are all kinds of rules that were being violated. Okay, I'll tell you right now, it's bull, but emotionally, that's what was registering.
Yeah. So
then I got along with my day, and I wanted to go to the grocery stores. I didn't process it. I have my schedule, right? So I didn't handle that. I didn't even have time to sit down with my prayers. Nothing. I had to get to the store before the crowds came. And I had to go to this special store because they have the best produce.
Yeah.
Plus they have $3 wine. You know what Whole Foods. Okay. So I got there at 7 o'clock when they opened, And guess what? The whole area where the green stuff is, the
Yeah.
refrigerated stuff,
Yeah.
it was practically empty.
My goodness.
Violation.
Absolutely.
Violation.
Terrible things are happening.
Yeah, really. Then, as if this is not enough, I got a notification that I had run out of data and they were charging me extra on my phone. It's like, what? I usually use about 10% of my data. What? This is nuts. So I got upset about that too. Another violation.
So would you say it's building now?
Oh, that's the thing.
It's building little by little. It's building up.
It's like I didn't take care of the first one. I didn't take care of the second one.
Yep.
It wasn't until after I got back from the Verizon store to get that thing taken care of that I said, okay, golly, I got to sit down and do my practice. I haven't done this at all. And it was like, okay, I'm doing this to myself. How am I doing it? I had all kinds of rules. You know, we have rules.
Maybe.
Like,
stores should behave a certain way.
they should be stocked.
People
Yes.
should respect you and not wake you up earlier.
That's right. All kinds of things like that. There's so many rules, and even the rules themselves were in conflict.
That's right.
If you really want to know, if I looked at it, it's
Yeah.
like, well, if this happened, then that wouldn't have happened. And no, I've got a whole bunch of things that'll say, this one was wrong, that one was wrong, the other one's wrong, bad, and they're hurting me. And what I realized, so just to make a long story short, I did sit down, I did my practice, I recognized I'm doing this to myself with my stiffly holding on to rules of how things should go.
Would you also say that it's rules that would provide you with the identity that you think you should have?
Well, it would go pretty deep.
Yeah.
I couldn't go that far.
Okay.
No, just the fact that there's rules
Right.
that you call before you come over at 5:30 in the morning,
Right.
like that.
So these rules to justice and rightness were being violated.
Oh yeah. And so when I sat down to do my practice, I realized my rules are hurting me. They're making it. The attempt is to make Whole Foods and Verizon and all that wrong.
Right. So you can be right.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, it hurt.
Yeah.
I was in a bad mood. You saw when I came home from the store.
Yeah.
You just said, you're not in a good mood.
I was an ocean of calm.
You were, yeah. So when I sat down and did my practice, I gave it to the Holy Spirit. I said, I don't like how I feel. This is not what I want for my day. And please take this from me. And then I just got quiet, like really quiet. And it was like as if I was being washed. I think this lesson, the original lesson, uses the word swept. Swept away. All the illusions are swept away. Well, it was sort of like that.
Just washed away.
Yeah, just like gone, and I felt fine. But here is the real cool lesson that I got from this. And this relates to Dale's question the other day of how is it that you can have a forgiveness have to come up over and over and over.
Right.
Okay, so the same forgiveness.
Right.
Right. So what I realized was that when the first thing happened, there's like an emotional response that's actually like a physical response.
Yeah.
Like, we'll call it adrenaline. It's probably not adrenaline.
Right.
Right. But it's something in the body.
Physical analog to mental concept.
Yes. Yeah. And when I finally let go, I realized that physical analog is still there.
Yeah.
And so because it's, it takes time for it to wash out of the body. It's gone from the mind. I'm not holding on to it anymore. But the physical analog kind of brings you back. Like,
Wants to bring you back. Yeah.
It wants to bring it. Well, it doesn't have volition, but
Right.
it's like there is a
draw.
There's that behavioristic idea, stimulus response.
Oh, right.
It's like I'm associating this physicality, this sense of, prickliness and whatever that is. I'm associating that with being angry. So the mind goes to, well, what can I be angry at?
Right. You need it. That's what it says. You need a target.
Right.
Hate needs a target.
Yeah.
Anger needs a target.
Right.
Where the mind's naturally abstract above those conflicts.
Right.
It needs a target.
Yeah.
So you did this process where you recovered.
Well, finally, after after beating myself in the head 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt so good to do that. That was the old question. Why does he keep beating his head against the wall? Because it feels so good when
you stop.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That actually was an argument in theology, but we won't go there.
No, we will not.
So, so would you say? I don't want to interrupt your story. So
No,
there was a change in your peace.
Oh yeah, big time.
So
Big
would
time.
you say this was a function of the power of decision to give you another experience?
Yeah, because I hadn't stopped. Let's say after the first thing happened.
Yeah.
I didn't stop and do the process such that I could make a clear decision.
There you go.
I just went on because I had to, right?
Right.
And then I had a schedule that I had to keep for the next one.
Right.
And then, oh my gosh, it's costing me money every minute. I got to go over to Verizon.
Right.
It's like I have to. I'm being pushed by my own rules.
Yeah.
You got to get to the store as soon as it opens. Oh yeah, sure. Who says? If I had gone to the store without that first thing happening, I'd gotten to the store and I saw the stuff isn't there, I would have just said, oh yeah, well, when's the romaine coming out? Are you going to have Swiss chard today?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have bothered me, but because I was already in that state,
Yeah.
it's like it snowballed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sees similarities and it tries to group them together to reinforce
That bad feeling.
Yeah,
justify the bad feeling. Yeah.
So
Ego is not very smart, really. It just doesn't like us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's so good to share the course with 12-step people, because you don't have to convince somebody who's gone through addiction that there's somebody inside them that doesn't like them, would like to kill them or drive them crazy.
Yeah.
But see, that's where
it's in all of us.
It's in all of us, but that's where we can see the power of decision.
Yeah.
When we break them down to simple choices. Like this lesson, either I can choose condemnation or I can choose forgiveness.
Yeah.
And whichever one I choose, that will be my experience.
That's what you're going to get. Yeah.
So
I choose peace. I choose joy. And you know what I was thinking too? Oh, I want to complete this.
Please, yeah.
Okay. So the insight I got was one of our students in the other class brought up how sometimes you have a big issue and you have to work on it for a long time, and I really relate.
Yeah.
Because I've had that happen. It's like every time I think of this, pain.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I realized is that there is a connection there. There's like a connection between the thought and the feeling, such that ego wants us to have that feeling. So how can I get that feeling? Oh, that thought will work. That would work.
Sure.
It always works. Hey,
So the ego's looking for allies.
It's looking for ways to hurt us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what you mean by allies.
Well, just somebody a thought that agrees with another thought that agrees with another thought.
That,
to the reinforcement.
Yeah.
I think that was what you were saying.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Well, yeah. So what I was getting at, I think, is that there's like that emotional response becomes habitual when we connect it with a thought, right? The particular thought is going to produce that feeling, and ego wants us to have that feeling. That's because that when we have those feelings, we are not at peace and connected with God or anybody else.
Right.
So
there has to be. Part of what I hear you saying is these particular, discrete, concrete events or situations or thoughts that are trying to come together in a story about who you seem to be at that moment. There's a story behind.
I'm a victim, right? I
Right.
mean that would be the bottom line.
Right.
Yeah.
But-
I don't know, honey. I don't know about the story.
Well, I'm just talking about.
Maybe you could talk about it from your own experience.
Well, it's just that we don't tend to think in discrete, concrete things. There's always a story in the mind, and the story is: am I as God created me, or am I a body?
Right.
And it's from that fundamental decision
Right.
that all else follows from that. It's because now I've broken it down to something I can make a real conscious, sane choice about. Do
Right.
I want to be how I feel?
Right.
Do I want to experience this way?
Right.
Or would I rather be at peace?
Yeah.
Or would I rather feel joy and love?
Yeah.
So that idea of the story is really important.
Yeah. It is. And it comes down to, do I want to be a victim or do I want to be powerful and glorious?
Now-
Today's lesson talks about our glory. Did you
I
notice
do,
that?
but I want to sing your hallelujahs there for a minute, because Jan is the kind of person who is, as far as I've known her, is that she constantly is trying to listen to the Holy Spirit in the littlest things in her life. Is something that amazes me.
I miss an awful lot, but
You know, it was
better
like
than
this.
I used to be.
It was like the story of our relationship is like the story of a woman who was married to a philosopher, and he's trying to cook food, and the water starts boiling, and it's over, and he doesn't know what to do, so he starts praying, and his wife comes in and says, "Turn down the heat." Right?
Yeah.
So I was playing the role of turn down the heat a
Yeah.
little bit this morning.
Oh, you were.
But the point being is that I have to boil this down to decisions where I can make a clear one and get a clear experience.
Yeah.
Because that's what he's doing. He's saying that when we accept,
I'm sorry.
it's all right, when we accept
Lost your train of thought.
well, I'm trying to find the right words. Well, let's put it this way. It's not just an emotion when we're upset, and it's not just a feeling. It's a deep sense of who do I see myself as.
That's what it comes down to.
And we've blocked that off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here's the major idea in the course. Whatever you're experiencing, you're responsible for it. I mean, it separates out the situation, personalities, and events. Just hold those as what they seem to be, and it said, here's your reaction to those situations, and your reaction you have a choice over.
Yeah.
But you've got to understand that that choice has to be made and is being made consciously, right?
Yeah.
And then you forget that you're doing it.
Yeah.
So what the Course is saying, in like the rules of guidance, don't try and become aware of all the decisions you're making all the time, because you're making them all the time. But there's a certain set that emerges, and start working with those.
Yeah.
Right? So like us, when we're getting older and we have a fixed, there's all these ideas that continually come up, and those are the ones we can work with.
We have to work with what's conscious. Yeah.
Right. But where we can see, we can make a real different choice and a real different experience in that situation.
Okay, so
again, it's not, if you think you have a lot of decisions to make, and you do, understand that your first decision is, should I be free or should I be bound? Should I forgive or should I condemn?
am I a body or am I a spirit?
Am I a victim, or do I have I claimed my power and my freedom in this moment?
Yeah.
Which one is it?
Yeah.
And when you boil it down to simple choices, that's where you see the power of your decision. Because your power of decision made time, space, and all that seems
And
real.
everything physical.
And that's pretty big.
Yeah.
But we have to learn the power of our decisions.
So I just realized when we were talking that all three of those upsets today came down to my belief that I'm a body.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's 5:30 in the morning. This shouldn't be happening. It's 7 o'clock. Your store is open, and I should have my vegetables.
Don't you know who I am?
And money. You know, the data thing is money.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, time, stuff, money. It's like, am I a body or am I free? If I'm free to be totally joyous no matter what happens.
That's right.
Hey, did you notice that we are, like, this is Thursday, so Tuesday we also did another lesson similar to this.
Yeah.
It can be but myself I crucify. Then we're doing this one, only my condemnation injures me. And when we first started with Edenshire, doing these classes with Edenshire, we were in the midst of the happiness lessons, like right around 100.
Yeah,
you know, God's will for me is perfect happiness. This is telling us how to be happy.
Exactly.
You know, make a decision. Are you a body or are you spirit? Are you going toward God or are you going away from God?
Right.
Yeah.
And that becomes so important in understanding what's going on within me and within my mind.
Yeah.
It's more than just emotions. It's more than just feelings. It's actually more like a mood and a concept of how do I see myself in that moment. And that you have the power to stop and look at yourself and see what is it that's really being threatened.
Yeah.
Was I created by love or was I created by made up by hate?
Yeah.
And I can see the difference between them.
Uh-huh. You can feel the difference.
You can feel the difference.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do is mention in this lesson.
The original lesson 198.
Yeah, only my condemnation injures me. That's what we're reviewing today.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing that he's laid out in these last few lessons, and that is to develop the attitude of gratitude.
Uh-huh.
Right? And what he's been saying is you can't be grateful because you're comparing yourself to others, right?
Mm-hmm.
And seeing yourself as different than them in any way. Like resenting that they may have more than you, right?
Or they took something away from you.
Or they took something away from you. Or you feel lack because you don't have, have that.
Yeah.
Right? It's that situation that he's addressing, and he's saying to you, you can develop this attitude of gratitude where you recognize, well, wait a minute, love has given me everything.
Yeah.
I need to understand that as a concept, as a theory. It's true, but love has given me everything. And if I'm upset, am I saying love is failing, or could I just be thinking wrong about it?
Yeah.
Right? So here's what he says in this lesson as you develop this gratitude.
So you're reading off of page 379.
Right.
Okay.
But what I'm going to read is what he's saying in this review, because we're coming up to part 2, and he's asking us to develop this state of peace that paths understanding. And it's only in that state of peace that we can hear the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Right? So here's what he says as you develop this attitude of gratitude to free yourself from all suffering. He's talking about the Holy Spirit. His words will work. His words will save. His words contain all hope, all blessing, all joy that ever can be found upon this earth. His words are born in God and come to you with heaven's love upon them. And those who hear his words have heard the song of heaven. For these are the words in which all merge as one at last. So this whole practice is use these words, use these concepts, use whatever spiritual discipline that you have to go beyond it to that state of peace that's beyond words, it's beyond concept.
Yeah.
But you use the words and concepts to go beyond them.
Yeah.
So here's an example I have, like yours, that I've often had in my life where I'm not watching the anger thoughts or the fear thoughts developing.
Yeah, that's it.
Right?
Right.
So somebody upsets me and I go, well, I'm a very loving guy.
I'll sweep it under the rug.
That's just an illusion. Forget about it. And then they do it
Spiritual
again.
bypass. Yeah.
Well, then they do it again, and I go, oh, well, I'm really a spiritual person. I'll just overlook. Well, I'm getting more upset as I go
That's
along.
it.
And then by the third time that they do it, I'm completely undone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm confused. I don't know where to look. I don't know what to think. I don't think. And it's at that point that I have to say, let me listen to the words love is given.
Yeah. And you go for the day's lesson at that point?
Well, I think that we either use a lesson, but in that moment, I think the ideal in the moment is to be guided by the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Right? What should I do? What should I say? And what should I think? And so by using the words and these concepts and these practices to go beyond them, so you're in this state of peace.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're free to listen to the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
You're free to make an actual decision that has a different outcome.
Yeah, totally different.
Totally different.
Totally different. And none of those things that seem to be so important, they really don't matter. When you're on the other side of it, it's like, what? It's like sometimes after I've had an experience like this, I'll try to remember what it was I was so upset about, and I really can't remember. Like, how important was it? But I was using it actually to feel myself as